Yeah, welcome back to another episode of our training, complete design of a four-story commercial building. In the previous episode, we were able to model the ramp, and there is something we actually forgot to do, and let's quickly do that. Then we move on. So now let's go to the plan. Now in the plan view, let's make active the mid story, that's story 1, because we're going to be working on the panels in the ramp and the staircase. We want to make sure that the panels in the staircase and the ramp do not contribute to the floor diaphragm. So now we go to slabs. Under the slabs, you select the first one, press the shift key and select the last one. Then you have all the panels selected. Then you right click, go to properties, then under do not contribute here you click here, then you go to column wise edit, then you check do not contribute, then you OK. Alright, so now we have the panels not contributing to the floor diaphragm, so we close this. So again, we go to another mid-story level, that's story 3. Go to the slabs, select the first one, press the shift key and select the last panel. Right click, go to properties, then you edit, do not contribute. Alright, this is done. Then you close again. Then you go to story 5. Again, go to the slabs, select the first one, press the shift key, go to the last one, right click, properties, do not contribute, column wise edit. Alright, this is done. So we close again. Then we go to another mid-story, that's story 7. Then we go to the slabs again, first one, press the shift key, the last one, then go to properties, column wise edit, and check this. Alright, this is done, so we close. Alright, that is all, and that is the only thing we forgot to do in the previous episode. So now in this episode we are going to change the arrangement of the columns at the ground floor, because if you look at the ground floor plan, we have the parking space area, and there is a need to arrange our columns in order to make room for the parking space. So now let's start. So we go back here, go to the plan view, and go to the story 2, which is the first floor. So now we can quickly do something. Go to the settings, go to the layers, and uncheck the axis and the let's see, on the slab here. Okay, or before then, let's do something. Before then, we need to import the ground floor architectural plan. So we go to external reference drawing, go to add, then ground floor architectural plan, open it, make it active, then let's move it. Let's select the staircase area for the movement. Just a common area, you can select any place. You can make use of this point as well, this opening corner. So we select the same corner here. Okay. All right, so now we have the ground floor architectural plan on this layout that we have here. So now we can switch off the axis. Now let's switch off the axis and the slabs just to have a clearer picture. All right, so we have this. Now what we are going to do now is we're going to delete some of the columns so as to make enough room for the parking space. So let's go to the AutoCAD. Now we are going to do something. Let's place the columns, the column arrangement on the ground floor plan. So now we select all the columns and the grid lines, right click, copy selection. So now the common area we're going to pick here is going to be the staircase area, which is this corner. You can pick this corner, then we drop it here, then you escape. Alright, now so this will give us a clearer picture of the columns we need to delete. Like for instance, this column, and this one, we need to delete them. That is these three columns. Also this one here and this one here. So just to make it easier for us, I have this. Just to make it easier for us, I have been able to identify those columns we need to delete, and I have them hashed in another color. I have them hashed with another color. So these are the columns we need to delete so as to make enough space for the parking area. So now we go to product structure, and so these are the columns, these three, 1, 2, 3. So we need to delete. So we need to delete. Select this one, right click, then delete. Right, so after deleting the columns, there is need to reposition the beams. So therefore we need to first of all delete. We need to delete all these press the Control key and delete all these beams that are connected with the columns. Delete. All right, so now we proceed. Go back to the architectural plan and see if okay. So these two columns also we need to delete them. That is this one. Press delete on your keyboard. You can delete this one as well. Then let's select all the beams attached to them by press the Control key and select the beams, then press delete on the keyboard. Alright, so we move further. Also we have this column here that we need to delete. This one, so we delete this one. Alright, so this column as well, we delete this one. So we delete all these beams that are connected. Alright, lastly, this area we delete this and this column. So we select all the columns at once by pressing the Ctrl key. Then you press delete on your keyboard and delete all the columns. Also, there is need to delete all the connecting beams. Press the Ctrl key and select all the beams at once. Right click and go to delete. Alright, so let's check this area as well. We have some columns here, so we need to delete them. Right click, delete. So there is need to delete all these beams as well. Alright, so we move further. We have some columns here, so we delete them as well. This one, this one, and this one. Press the Control while selecting the columns, so you can select everything at once. Right click and go to delete. Then we can delete all the connecting beams as well. Alright, we're almost done. So we are here now, so we look for the columns to delete as well, this and this. So we go to the portal structure. It is this one and this one. So we select the beams and delete them. Alright, so lastly we are here now, so we have these columns to delete, 1, 2, 3. So we go to portal structure, select all the columns at once by pressing the shift key. We can equally select the beams, the connecting beams as well. Let's delete everything once. So we go to delete columns and beams. Alright, so now we have this. So now there's need to reposition the beams. So now we go back to settings, go to layers and make the houses active. Okay. Alright, now so we go to just select a beam, go to modeling, then beams. But in this case, now we have a longer span, so we can just, let's make this 750. Then we, from here to this point, escape, and from here to this point, from here to this point. Now portal structure is asking whether you want to split the beam, so you say no, you are not splitting the beam, because if you split the beam, there's going to be a break between, there's going to be a break at this point, so you will now be having two different beams around here, so there is no need of splitting the beam. So let's continue from here. Alright, so no need to split the beam. So we check again any other place. Okay, here, so we draw the beam. Alright, so now we have been able to model the beams again. So now another thing we need to do, let's go to 3D and see what we have done so far. Now there is something I want you to observe here. You will see that here now we have this is a new beam. This is one of the beams we just modeled, the 225 by 750 beam, and we have this column at the upper floor resting on this beam at the first floor. Now you will see that you will notice that we have some columns here that they don't have any beam to rest on, like this column for instance. The column doesn't have any beam to rest on. That means we need to introduce beam that would run from this column to this other column, so that this beam can have, this column can have something to rest upon. Let's go back to the plan, and this is the area I'm talking about. If you go to Storey 4 for instance, we see that we have a column around here, and this column would not have a beam to rest on this story, so there is need to introduce a beam around here so that the column from Storey 4 can have a beam to rest on. That is one. Another thing is that due to the orientation of this column, this column may not be able to sit very well on the beam we are about to introduce. This is what I'm talking about. If you go to this Storey 2 now, you select a beam, modeling beam from here to here. Now if you go to 3D, you will see that this column is not resting properly on this beam, so there is need to change the orientation of this column so that it can sit well on this beam. So we go back to plan, then we go to story 4. Then our story 4, we click on this column and go to the properties. Now let's change the orientation and rotate it. So now instead of 225 here, we make it 450, and we make this other one 225. Also, let's centralize it by making this one 0. You update it and the column is going to sit well now on the beam. So let's go to 3D. So now we have the column sitting well on the beam, and there is need to do the same thing for the other columns at the upper floors. So we go to plan. So this same column, we go to the upper floors, and that's story 6. Let's go to story 6. So this same column, we just change this one to 450 and this one 225, then this one make it 0. Then story 8, properties, and make this one 450. So what we are doing is just that we are changing the orientation of the column so that the column can sit properly on the beams. Alright, so there is need to remodel this beam. So let's quickly remodel this beam. Modeling beam. So from here to this point. Alright, good. Close. So now we go to story 9. That's the next story. So we change the orientation of this column again. Properties. So make this one 450 and make this one 225 and this one 0. Update. Close. Alright, so now we are good. So we go to 3D and let's see. Alright, very good. So now that is how we're going to introduce supporting beams for all these columns that are floating. So now we go back to plan, go back to story 2. So this same area, at story 4, if you go to story 4, you will see that there's a column around there. So now there's need to introduce a beam, straight beam like this, so that this column can actually rest on something. So we go back to story 2 and let's click on this beam, then modeling beam again, and from this beam to this beam. So we do the same thing around here because we have columns at the upper floor. So if you go to story 4, you see that we have column around here. There's a column here, so there is a need to introduce beam, straight beam underneath this column so that it can have a supporting structure. The same thing for this column. There is need to introduce a straight beam underneath so that this column can have a supporting structure. So now we go back to story 2. So we select this beam, then we go to modeling, then select beam. From here to this other column, escape, then from this column to this column. Close. So let's have a look in 3D. Now you can see these columns now have supporting beams. Can you see? Now let's go to this other side. Now we have more columns here that do not have supporting beams, so we have two here. So we go back to the plan, that is this area. So we select a beam here, go to modeling beam, from here to here. From here to here. Alright, so now let's check if we have anyone around here that's any column that is not well supported. Okay, we have one here. We have a column here, this one, and we have two here. This one and this one. So we go to plan. Is where we have two, so we need to introduce beam around here. So we click on 225 by 750 beam, the modeling beam. So let's introduce a beam here. Another beam here. Okay, so now let's check, go to Storey 4 if we have any floating column around here. Okay, we have one here, so that is need to introduce a long beam here. So we go back to Storey 2, so we introduce a beam here. Let's check here, go to Storey 4, no floating column. Alright, so now we have been able to change the arrangement of columns at the ground floor in order to make room for the parking space. So now we can switch on the slabs. So we go to plan, go to the first floor, then go to the building settings, then let's switch on the slabs. Now there's need to delete these slabs back, because now we are now having a new arrangement for the beams, so there is need to delete these slabs. I would like to delete this slab as well, so we can introduce maybe ribbed slab. Let's delete this one as well, so we can introduce a ribbed slab. delete all these ones because now we have a new arrangement. The same thing here. Press delete on the keyboard. Alright, the same thing here. Let's delete you can select all the slabs at once. Let's delete this slab as well. I would like us to introduce rib slab. Let's delete these ones. Alright, so right click, then delete. Alright, so now let's insert a rib slab in this area. So now we go to modeling, go to rib slab. Under the rib slab we can edit a lot of things here. This is the width of the rib. Let's leave it as 100. Then the height of the ribbed floor, let's make it 450. Then we make the topping to be 50 millimeter. Also we uncheck this and let's leave it at the spacing between the rib, let's make it 400. Okay, we'll leave it like this. Then for the loads, let's make the finishes, that's the additional dead load, 2 kilonewton per meter square, and the imposed load just the same way we have for the way we have it for the solid slab. So we make it 3. Then we come back here and make it beam region. So we select. You can as well rotate this ribbed floor by changing the angle here. You can rotate it, let's say 90 degrees. Update. But I want to leave it as this, so I'll update it back. Alright, so we click the rest of the beam area to insert the rib slab. Alright, so we are done, so we close this. Let's have a look in 3D. Alright, so this looks very good. So now the next thing now we are going to do is to insert to model the partition walls on the floors. So we go back to plan. Alright, so now we need to model the partition walls. To model the partition walls, we go to building setout, go to the external reference drawing, and let's first of all remove this. Then we add the first floor architectural plan. So open, make it active, then you can use the color. Then let's move it, so we can pick this corner. So we move it to this area. Right, okay. So now the next thing we will do is we are going to delete all unused axes. So we go to review, so delete unused axes. Yes. Alright, so now we can model the partition walls. So now to do that, first of all, let's model the walls on the beams. So first, let's start with this one. Let's start with this one. So we edit, go to the edit, wall load. Then for the wall unit weight, let's use 3.47. For the purpose of this training, let's use 3.47, and this is also applicable in real life situation. And this unit weight includes the block unit weight and that of the plastering on the blocks. Also the wall height. Since the height of our building is let's confirm that. Sorry, go to the stories, edit story. Our building height is 3 meters. So, and the beam at the upper floor is 450. So if we remove 450 from the 3 meters, we have 2.55. So therefore we make the wall height to be 2.55, and the wall thickness is 0.225. Okay, so let's have a look in 3D before we proceed. Alright, I just want to make sure the wall doesn't exceed the height, the normal height. Okay, now this is good. So we go back and copy this to the rest of the beams. So we go to copy wall load. So we have external wall here, so we press the control key and select all the beams that are applicable. Not all the beams are actually applicable, so we select all the beams that are applicable. After selecting all the beams not applicable, you can right click, then you paste the copied beam loads. Yes, now you see that the exactly what we have here has been copied to these few beams that we selected. Let's have a look in 3D. So now you see that this wall has been copied to these beams that we selected, but there is a faster way of doing this. Instead of selecting the beams one after the other, you can actually since we have walls on almost all the beams, if you check, you see that we are having wall on almost all the beams. So instead of copying it one after the other, we can actually do something. We can come to this tree, then select the first beam here on the tree, and we can edit the wall load of the first one. So we have 3.47 and the wall height 2.55 and the wall thickness is 0.225. So okay, now since we have the wall load on this beam, so we can now copy wall load, then you scroll down to the last beam here, press the shift key and select the last beam that you have here. If you see that all the beams have been selected, then you right click, then go to paste copied beam loads. Yes, then you have the wall load on all the beams. But at the same time, if you want to delete walls from some of the beams that are not subjected to wall loads, you can actually do that by you go to the beam like this. For instance, this very beam is not carrying any wall load. If you go to the architectural plan, the beam that runs across this area is not having any wall on it. So you can actually select the beam, right click, then you go to delete wall load. So this is how you remove wall load from the beam. So you can do the same thing here, delete wall load. However, that is a faster way of doing it. I think we don't have wall load here as well. Yeah, so you can now begin to delete wall load. So you can choose any method that is convenient for you. I prefer this faster, this other way. I can paste the wall loads on all the beams, then begin to delete later. Especially in this case that we have walls on almost all the beams. We have walls on almost all the beams. I think we don't have wall here as well. No wall load, delete wall load. So you can, while practicing on your own, you can just check through and delete wall loads from all the beams you feel they are not carrying walls. Okay, this waiting area beam doesn't have a wall load, so delete wall load. Then also where we have the staircase, there is no wall load here, so we delete wall load. The same thing here, there is no wall here. The beam that is running across it, this is a staircase area, so there is no wall, so we delete wall load. The same thing, delete wall load. Alright, so now let's have a look in 3D. Oh, there is no, let's delete wall load. Let's check. There is no wall here, so let's delete let's select all the beams at once and delete the wall loads. Alright, so okay, alright, so I'm going to stop here. So while practicing on your own, you look for those areas where you don't have walls, and you delete all the walls from the beam. So let's have a look in 3D. Alright, so now this is what we have done in 3D. Also, don't forget these beams at the mid-stories. Let's go to the plan, go to story 1. So we need to have a wall load here on this beam around the staircase. This one. So now, since the mid-story is about 1.5 and the height of this beam is 450, so therefore the height of this beam, of the height of the wall on this beam is going to be 1.050. So let's edit wall load. Let's use 3.47. Wall height is going to be 1.050 and the thickness is 0.225. okay, alright, so this is correct. So now we go back to plan and copy the same thing to the rest of the beams. So we have this, copy wall load. Select this by pressing the Ctrl key and this one. Right click, then paste copied beam loads. Yes. Alright, so this looks better now. Alright, so now for the partition walls. In one of my previous videos, I've explained how to go about the partition walls. So I will just briefly explain this, then I will proceed. Now, where we have these partition walls, with the best way of doing this is to make use of this simple Excel sheet. Here I have the wall unit weight, I have the wall length, I have the wall height, the panel length, and the panel width. Now, for instance, let's say I want to know the additional load on this panel as a result of these partition walls. All I have to do is to take the length of these partition walls. You can see this is a partition wall, this one here. So now we can just right click, go to measure. You can just take the whole you can just stick here, you can stop here, or looking at the architectural plan, it runs through to this point. So let's just take it to this point. So we have here 4.5, then this other one as well, so we take it as 4.5 as well. So also this other wall here, this small one here, so I will just take it, let me take it from here. So this one is about 3.221. so now, so we have 4.5, 4.5 and 3.221. so by the time we add that together, we have 3.221 plus 9 meters, so we have 12.221. so now we have 12.221 as a wall length. So you come here, you type 12.221, enter. Then also the what is it called, the panel length. Let's check the panel length. Go to measure again. So let's take it from the middle here to this midpoint here. The panel length here is 7 meters, and the panel width is 4.5. so we have 7 meters, we have 7 here, and we have 4.5 here. Can you see now? So now this Excel sheet has automatically calculated the additional dead load from partitions to be 4.04, provided the wall height is 3 meters. Of course, our wall height is 3 meters and our wall unit weight is 3.47. so we have our additional dead load as a result of the partition to be 4.04. so now we go escape this first. So we go to this we click on this panel, go to the properties, and then we go to the loads. So instead of these two that we have here, so we now have 2 plus 4.04, so we have 6.04. so we have 6.04. then we update this, then we close. So now this is the easiest way to go about your partition walls. However, for the purpose of this training, I will just assume a uniform value for all the panels. But in real life scenario, this is how you go about calculating the loadings for your partition walls. So now for this training, I will just select this first slab, press the shift key and select the last panel here. Then I will go to properties, then under the dead load, I will just go to column wise edit and make it 5. Alright, close. And for the rib slabs, I will go to rib slabs, select the first one, press the shift key and select the last one, right click, then you go to properties, then under here click here and go to column wise edit, then let's make it 5. Okay. Close. Alright, so now we have the partitions and we have the walls on the beams, and in this way we can repeat the same thing for the other floors. Alright, so we go to story 4. So at story 4 we can repeat the same thing. So let's select the first beam here, then we edit the wall load, and the wall unit weight is 3.47 and the wall height is 2.55, just the same way we have in the first floor. So the thickness is 0.225, then we okay this. So we can as well copy this to the rest of the beams by selecting the beam. So go to copy wall load, scroll down and press the shift key and select the last beam here. Sorry, that was a mistake. Okay, now all the beams have been selected. So we right click, go to paste copied beam loads. Yes. Alright, now so from the drawing here we have a similar drawing here with that of the first floor, except that the arrangement of the slabs have been changed. So, and also we have ripped slabs here, but here we just have solid slabs all through. So now we can now begin to delete those areas where we don't have wall loads, just like the first floor. All those areas where we don't have wall loads. So while practicing on your own, you can just take time and do all these things. So right click, sorry, let's do it again. Delete wall load. Select this, select everything at once. Okay, so we right click, then go to delete wall load. Alright, so now for the partitions, I've explained this before. I will just use an assume value. So in real life scenario, you follow the procedure as I have in my previous video. So I will go to slab, select the first one, press the shift key and select the last one. Go to properties and change this value to, let's say, 5. Okay. Alright, so we have the additional loads as a result of partition walls on the floors. Now, instead of repeating the same thing at story 6, since we have the same arrangement, at story 6, you can see our story 6 is the same. We have the same arrangement as story 6, and at story 8, still the same arrangement. Story 9 is our roof. And so now we can copy everything we have in story 4 to story 6 and story 8. But before then, we need to do something. Let's go to 3D. Before then, we need to remove all the members first before we can now copy. So we go to story 6. At story 6, we need to right click, so you go to delete members in story, click yes. So we delete all the members in story 6. Alright, so you go to story 8 as well. At story 8, we can say delete members in story 8. Yes. Now we go back to story 4. Since story 4, 6 and 8 has the same, so we make story 4 active. Then you go to stories, go to generate story, then we now select 6 and 8 by pressing the control key, then OK. So we can now close. Alright, now we have this. However, we need to delete all these walls on these beams. So we go back to story 4. Now let's go to plan. Now here let's delete these walls. Delete wall. Let's go to story 6. Actually, I should have deleted this before generating the story. Alright, so we have this now. We have this. Alright, now there is need to provide to extend this. There's need to extend this beam so as to serve as a kind of covering over this floor here. So let's go back to plan, then we go to story 9 or story 8 first. So let's generate these beams to story 9. So we go to generate members, select story 9. Okay, yes. Close. So let's look at it in 3D. Alright, this looks better now. Alright, this looks better now. So let's go back to plan. So please, like I said, check for areas where wall loads are not applicable. Alright, so let's go back to story 9. So this is the roof level. So now we are going to be removing some beams that are not applicable, like this one. Let's remove this. These ones are not necessary. Let's remove this. let's see. Okay, let's leave this one. Here, let me remove this one. I'll remove this. Let's remove this. Let's remove these ones. Oh, sorry. Let's leave these ones. Let's remove this. Let's remove this one. Okay, let's leave this. So it depends on your own discretion. You can just use your own discretion and rearrange the roof beams. For me, I don't want to have too many beams at the roof level. Okay, I will just leave it like this. So let's have a look in 3D. Alright, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to load these the roof beams. So we go to the plan. Let's select the first beam. Let's select the first beam. Go to beams. So we go to edit member loads. Then you go to the finite elements and go to new load. Then you go to this load combination editor. Then the roof depth load, I'm going to make it 1 kilonewton per meter, and the roof live load, I'm going to make it 1 as well. So okay, so I can copy this load to the other beams by selecting this first beam. Go to copy manual load, then go to the last beam here, press the shift key, then you paste copied beam loads. Alright, also if you have parapet walls, on these beams, you can model this, but I want to leave it like this. Alright, now we are through with the modeling. And what is left now is to check our model and see if there is any place we need to adjust, anywhere we need to adjust before we now go to the analysis. Also, let's go to review. I want us to delete all unused axes in case, okay, none. Also, I want us to relabel all the members. Let's relabel the columns, the shear walls, the beams, the slabs, the rib slabs. Okay. Alright, this is done. Fix this. No. Refresh connectivity. Close. Alright, so now in the next episode we are going to analyze this structure. We have come to the end of this episode. If you like what you are seeing, please like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you. See you in the next episode. Bye.